Hello everybody and welcome to round 7 of the RCR League Season 5. We're here in Autodromo Internazionale Enzo E. Dino Ferrari, otherwise known as Imola. First Grand Prix here ran in 1980 and continued ever since until it stopped. I knew when it stopped around 2003-2004. Going to be doing 32 laps around this track. If we have a look at the track map there, we are on round 7. So we've just done Miami and we're coming up to Monaco next week. Our 24 race calendar. Imola then has 19 corners, 1 DRS zone running on the start finish straight. The speed trap being right before turn 19 on a short run from turns 15 to 19. Speed trap is there, and then the detection point for the DRS zone just being before turn 16. Have a quick look at the driver's standings. We have Eclipse PR out on an outlap at the moment. Apparently BXTN says it is a wet race. Now BXTN, I was just in a party with him and he did a rain dance and a rain chant, per se, for going into this session, and it looks like it has come true, so we'll have to keep an eye on BXTN's rain dances in the future to predict the weather. Yeah, so Lex is leading the championship, tipped in the practice session to get pole as he did a 14.3 in practice. Out on track at the moment we have Eclipse, we have Micro Mash 2. Getting everything situated, so bear with me. Run. We won't run what tyres everyone's on. Everyone should be on the soft tyre. Okay then. So enough with that for now. We'll come back to it later on. Let's go on board with Eclipse. He runs down to turn 1. Left, right, making sure to take as much curb as possible. Flat out. Left-hand turn coming up into what is just a short braking zone. And then straight back on the power to the hairpin, which is difficult to get right as he locks up a little bit the inside left wheel. Now powering down again, just a couple of gears down to 5. Powering through, and this is tricky. The downhill braking zone up to the uphill section. Difficult to get on the power without oversteering here. 2 chicanes. Taking as much curb as possible. Another slight lockup on the inside, on the outside right, sorry. Anti-clockwise track, Imola. So lots of wear on the right tyre. It's approaching the line then. It's a 15.3 for the Irish driver. Daniel Rose has been disqualified from qualifying for blocking the pit lane, so unfortunately has had an incident in the pit lane and then not been able to get moving again, so therefore unfortunately has been disqualified. We've got Owen out on track at the moment. He's invalidated his time, so we'll move on. This is the man to beat. That's interesting. I've just realised that nobody's actually running. Sorry, we'll get back to the laps. I'll talk about that later on. So purple sector 2 then for Lex as he runs down to the penultimate corner. Gotta get this braked in nice and wide. Make sure it stayed on the white line there. Once he crosses over that, it's an invalidated time. Did very well. And he has put that on pole with a 14.6. Going to be a tough time to beat. Eclipse is no slouch when it comes to putting in them laps. B 7/10 off. Quite a feat. Cycle leads at the moment on track as well. Go back to Owen, however. Owen fastest in the first sector. It's tricky though. 5 corners making up the second. Qualifying session is short qualifying as we go up to the race. 1 qualifying session, not all 3. The race being 50%. Fastest in the second sector as well, according to this. I'm slowly starting to not believe it. Looks a bit... Well, it looks like Owen hasn't used as much of the track, and he hasn't. It's a 15.3. Faster than Eclipse, but not fast as Lex. Lex comes into the pit lane as Huff and Dolbach is out on lap. And as I said before, Cycle Leds was on a lap, but he has invalidated it. Santry coming up to the line here, about to cross it. 1:15, 1:15.2. That puts him on the front row of the grid provisionally. Go back on board with Huff and Dolbach. I'll have to get a confirmation as to what's going on with the cars. As Huff and Dolbach sets a 14.7. So although we thought Lex may be able to run away with it, as Slaz has put in the fastest first sector of anybody. So although we thought potentially pole was locked out by Lex after the qualifying, after the practice session earlier on, it looks to be still has a challenge on his hands as Slaz comes up to the second sector. Purple there as well. The 2 chicanes now, has to get this right. Takes all of both of them, but unfortunately invalidates on the second one. Takes too much at the second chicane out of turn 15. That's unfortunate. It looked to be a good lap up until that point. However, they were discussing with some of the drivers before the session started. It is make or break that chicane. As Slaz staying out for another run. It is a short lap around here. Therefore, drivers can get as many laps as they want. Couple of drivers out on track at the moment. Not sure anyone's actually doing a lap though. Santry seems to be 3/10 up on his time. Is he doing another run at it? We'll stick on board with him. Last time I commentated for RCR was on the previous game. Santry has come along leaps and bounds in terms of his pace. Got a yellow flag again. Turn 9, I believe. Okay, then Binary rounding out. Final turns. Rhea complaining a bit. Under oversteer. 1:17. So he was like he slowed down for another attempt at it. Welcome everyone who's watching the stream. And Mr. DJ CJ crosses the line. 1:15.3. He won't be happy with that time. If it isn't the voodoo man himself, did a rain dance to call the rain for the race. Apparently, according to him, it has worked. We will be having a wet race. BXTN. Make sure that we are not live at the moment. We are live. Okay, very sorry for that. I apologise. Basically, I had to reauthorize my Twitch, so it was absolutely the worst time for that to happen. We'll get back into the action. So, if we missed it, BXTN went out and set a lap. He did a 14.9. Lex then went out and set another lap. He's reclaimed his provisional pole position with a 14.2. Santry with an impressive 14.5. I don't know if we watched that, so if we did, if we didn't, I'll just run back over it. Impressive 14.5, as I was saying about Sentry. He's shown great improvement since the previous game. Owen currently down in 7th place. He's looking to improve on his time. Websy out of position, I'd say, in 8th place. He's a lot faster than 8th place. DJ went out and set a lap as well. He's got a 15.3 at the moment. I'm sure that he'll be wanting to move up the order. We can see Micromash as well in 5th place. Huff and Dobak did an impressive time of a 14.7. Eclipse went on provisional pole temporarily for being pipped by Santry. He's got a 14.599. Now, I apologise for the stream cutting out. Hopefully, we can get back to it. It's yeah, so apparently it's just we were live for a moment, and then moments later it just decided to crap out and say that I needed to relog into Twitch. So here we are with Owen rounding out the final corners, and he comes into the pits because it was an in-lap. Let's try and find someone out on a actual. We've just got an invalidated time. DJ looks to on an actual lap. We will confirm that when he crosses over into the second sector, and he is 5/10 up on his time at the moment. So here we go then. I'm Mr. DJ CJ. Currently 9th place, 5/10 up on his previous time. Purple in the first sector. What can he put together? He's hustling that car through turns 8, 9, 11, 12, and then through the second sector. Purple there as well, over the chicanes nicely. Does well not to invalidate his time. Coming up now to the penultimate corner. He's just hit the speed trap. Wonder where he is in terms of the speed trap compared to everyone else, but it's looking good at the moment. We are later on in this qualifying session, therefore the track more rubbered in. Crosses the line and he puts it as a 14.4, incredibly close to Lex. 2/10 off first place, off provisional pole. Has anybody got an answer for Lex's time? Lex currently sat in the pits as Laz almost losing the back end there. And it looks like he's slowed down. I think he's going to go back out that again. Yeah, he is. Going to do a recharge really quick. Lex comes out to defend his provisional pole. Santry is going to be moving extremely slowly, trying to conserve the fuel for one qualifying run. Have we got anybody on an actual lap? Maybe Ian. Currently down in 11th. Eclipse is also on a lap by the looks of it. A bit further back though, so we'll go back to Ian as he comes up to the finish line and comes into the pit. So Ian's not improving on his time. He remains 11th at the moment. Here we go then. But it's potentially stuck in traffic there as he comes out of the corner. Does well to get out of the way. I don't know who that was, but Eclipse will be absolutely furious with that as he crosses the line, and it's a 14.6. Slower than his time. I wonder if he'll blame the traffic that was just ahead of him for that. Plaza has yet again invalidated his time. Cotton the Goblin has invalidated his lap. Websy has just begun his lap. Owen is in the first sector. We're trying to catch people as they cross the line. Eclipse is going to do a second run at it. Gets the opportunity to do that. Micromash beginning his lap now as well. Welcome everyone to the stream. Glad you could join us. RCR round 7. Not sure if I put round 7 in the thing. I kind of rushed it. That's qualifying over then. So laps now count. These are the very last laps. As you can see, everyone who's not got a checker flag next to their name out on a lap. BXTN crosses the line. It's a 14.6, puts it on the third row of the grid. Who is to join him, as I'm going to try and get, as Lex puts in a 13.8, incredible lap from him. We're going to get Slaz across the line with no time. Websy's rounding out the final corners. I'm just watching to see anyone else improving as we watch Websy cross the line here. 14, it's 14.9, moves him slightly up the order. Has our grid been made up? Binary goes 6th. Huff and Doback puts it on the second row with a 14.4, marginally slower than CJ, just by a couple, well, just a hundredth of a second, really. A hundredth and a few thousandths of a second missing out. Micromash. Is Micromash still on a lap? Micromash crossed the line. The 1:14.916, 1,000th of a second slower than his previous time. Could have missed that though. I'm just looking at the top right of the screen there. So that is our qualifying order. As Sancho came into the pits, he did not put in his final lap of the session. That's due to invalidating his lap. As you can see, bottom right hand corner of the screen, the track map is red. Therefore, that's how we can tell that the driver invalidated their lap. Imola then, as I was saying before, first Grand Prix in 1980, returned to the calendar very recently. Recently, in terms of, I think, 2020, it returned to the calendar. Get a screenshot standings of the qualifying up. So then, 1980, we'll be doing 32 laps of this race. The fastest lap around here, the fastest racing lap, belongs to Lewis Hamilton 2020 on 15.484, yet to be beaten. But then again, the new generation of cars that came in 2022 meant that cars are now the new generation of Formula One car, now a bit slower than what was the peak of Formula One performance. So very difficult for anybody, any driver, even Max Verstappen in his RB20, put in a faster lap than that. Imola, lots of moments, lots of memorable moments around Imola. 1989, Prost and Senna's rivalry reached a boiling point when both qualified on the front row. Senna on pole, Prost in second, and the two had an agreement. The two McLaren drivers had an agreement that whoever went into the first corner ahead would then lead the race with no challenge from the teammates. However, a late Senna got the jump on Prost, and therefore Prost did not attack Senna. Red flag happened during the race. So then they had another standing start. With that standing start, Prost had the better start of the two. Thinking that their agreement was still on, Prost left the door open for Senna, thinking that Senna wouldn't attack. However, Senna threw it up the inside first corner, and Prost was furious and later did not do the press conferences or anything for McLaren, which was highly unusual at that time. So I know some drivers don't really get out. Some drivers these days get out of their duties, but back then it was very, very unheard of for a driver to get out of doing any press talks. It was highly frowned upon, and some people consider it to be the absolute boiling point of the rivalry, which led on for the years to come up until, I guess, Prost's retirement, in which the two kind of made up in the end. Sound like the sound is on. I'm hoping the sound is on. So there's a short 5-minute break before the session starts. That's for drivers to do strategies and have a break, drink, whatnot. In fact, bear with me a second. I will do the same. As yeah, it's going to be a lot of talking during this one. The struggles of being a sole commentator. Imola, also famous. Obviously, we can't mention Imola without mentioning the sad death of Senna, who died in 1994. I believe May 1994. And Roland Ratzenberger as well, who died in the qualifying session, the practice session, sorry, for the race. 2 men lost their lives on that weekend, and another almost lost theirs as well. Unfortunately, we lost 2 great races that day, and it will be forever remembered through us, the fans. And not to be all doom and gloom, but this race is also famous for a moment where in 2003, on the Friday night and the Saturday morning between those hours, Schumacher's mother passed away. But it created quite a memorable moment, showed both drivers' resilience, as in qualifying, both Schumachers, Michael took his first pole position of that year. Ralph put it in P2. Schumacher's sharing the front row of the grid. I think Schumacher went on. Michael, sorry, God, can't call him Schumacher, can we? Michael went on to win the race. Ralph, unfortunately, had a great start, overtook Michael, had to pit earlier on than Michael though, and then unfortunately had a delayed pit stop in terms of they had a pit stop error, and then Ralph couldn't find first gear, or the car couldn't find first gear, which resulted in Ralph dropping to 4th ultimately by the end of the race. But still, like, for both of them to not be able to mourn their mother's passing and then go on to put it on the front, incredible showing from both of them. A very special moment for the sport between the two of them to show just what these drivers, are capable of, even when pushed up against it. Absolute mentally so. Wait for the session to begin. I hope and pray that we have sound, because we can hear sound on the pause menu, but I cannot hear rain at the moment. So, unfortunately, I won't know until we get into the session. This is the first time that I've actually run spectator mode on F1 24. And if it's anything like F1 23, this is a bad sign that we can't tell sound or not, because that generally means that there isn't. But we'll see. Okay then, lights are on. Lights are out, because it's a formation lap. And we have got sound. Thank goodness for that. Turn that up a little bit. So then, formation lap, it is absolutely pouring down with rain. As I said before, or as I was saying, I think the stream went off, but BXTN, I think I mentioned it at the beginning of the stream, which everyone did see. BXTN did a rain dance before the qualifying session, before the session began. Well, here we are. Pouring down rain in Imola, which isn't unusual. We will have to probably put BXTN under the microscope and see if there's something voodoo about him, because that is an incredible prediction. And hopefully one that he doesn't make every single race, because wet races are very chaotic. It is really the equalizer of driver skill. However, can say that about Formula 1, actual Formula 1, where the cars have massive disparities in terms of performance. Well, not massive disparities these days, but do have disparities in terms of performance. However, here, quite different. We have equal cars, all drivers using equal cars. Therefore, in theory, the best performing drivers should be already in order. So then Lex lines up on provisional pole. I Mr. DJ CJ follows him. Huffen, Dolbach and Santry sharing the second row of the grid. Eclipse and BXTN, 2 Irishmen on the 3rd row. Binary and Micromash on the 4th. Websy and Owen on the 5th. Ian and Active GMC on the 6th row. Slazenger, Cottony Goblin, Psycho Leds and Daniel Rose showing the remaining respective rows. Those 4 unable to set a time in qualifying. I think Slaz did set a time of 1:29 something, but not indicative of actual performance. And if it was a real race weekend, the FIA would actually scrutinise whether or not Santry has been disqualified from the session. I think that may be disqualified for not lining up in his pit box, though, and he will get realigned. Okay then, so formation lap over. Here we go. We are about to get the lights. I'm very sure that Santry is still in the session. We've got a very poor camera angle. Or the very back of the thing. But here we go then. Lights out. Away we go. Lex. I'm not sure if he's got a good start. Let's have a look. I'm with CJ running up alongside Lex and Huff and Dolbach running very close to the behind. You can see him there on the inside of CJ. Closing up. He's going to take the inside of the corner, but CJ breaks later than Huff and Dolbach, manages to maintain position. Lex already has a 1.2 second lead now over the two drivers behind, as these two are squabbling for position. CJ may be struggling in these conditions. Following behind Santry, BXTN, Binary, Eclipse, Micromash, Owen. Micromash and Eclipse getting very close together as Sassinger has had a mistake or been crashed into somewhere. All drivers running full wet tyres at the moment. And as you can see, we'll also have no DRS as well. So no DRS assistance here. So it doesn't matter how close they are to each other. We'll have no DRS activation from turn 1 to turn 19 to turn 1. It is all about driver skill here and no DRS assistance as it is too wet to run. Going down the order, Daniel Rose has made a move on Ian. Ian now dropped down to 13th place. We're looking through. Binary seems to be closing up a little bit on Santry. So we'll keep an eye on that battle. 5th and 6th. Santry, as Binary is taking another 10th out of Santry's lead over him. Lex leading by 1.2 seconds. So obviously got that initial getaway due to Huff and Dolbach. As we're about to see BXTN make a move possibly on Huff and Dolbach. No. Back to Binary and Santry. Looks like Binary got a much better exit out of turn 2. Can get the inside, but thinks better of it. In these conditions, it is worth just being patient and not taking the risk. It is absolutely imperative that you do not take risks here in the wet. As I apologise, but this mic is doing my head in, so I'm going to have to move it. I'm going to suffer some pain to your ears in a second. Here we go then. Eclipse all over the back of Binary as he's struggling to get past Santry at the moment. As you can see, full wet weather. One stop is predicted. Eclipse losing a bit of time to Binary, and he's now got Micromash on the back of him. This is 7th and 8th battling it out, and it's beginning to be there's a train of cars already. They're still not broken out of the 1 second from each other. We are only on lap 2 though. Just going to make sure that the stream is still running. Yes, it is. As Lex sets the fastest lap of the race so far. Binary and Santry very, very close now. Binary using probably as much overtake as possible to get this move done. Moves to the outside of turn 1. That means he's going to get the inside of turn 2, but he's not going to need it as he's made the move and he's now up into 5th place. Got a great exit out of 19 and carried it all the way down to the first corner. That's Binary now in 5th, and Santry is going to have to look ahead and also look in his mirrors because Eclipse is still approaching. Still trying to make up places here. See there, I think that was Owen having a little look on Micromash, thought better of it. The race now beginning to settle down as wide somebody goes. That was Micromash. Probably would have got a warning for that. We've already got a couple of penalties in the field. Active JMC and Cottony Goblin. Penalties respectively. That'll be for corner cutting and exceeding track limits. Which, to be fair, around here is very difficult not to do, as you could see there. Owen going slightly off the track and JMC getting another penalty. Back over to Santry, who's still just a few tenths within Binary. Santri's problem, it looks like he's as again Lex with another fastest lap. Santri's problem at the moment looks like he can't get a good exit out of the final 2 corners, and that's what is keeping Binary ahead. As BXTN has made a move on CJ, that went missed. CJ now down into 3rd place. BXTN running full wets and maybe a wet setup. These conditions really testing everyone here. Oh, it's BXTN. Crooked bit of oversteer coming out that corner. Meaning that now CJ is only marginally behind. 3/10, 2/10. Downhill they go. And then into the uphill section. Incredibly difficult, as I was saying in the qualifying session, incredibly difficult to get the power down without kicking the back end out and oversteering yourself into a certain demise. Active JMC has retired from the session. It's a safety car. It's a full course safety car that's come out for Active JMC, who's gone off the track. Gone off the track on... bear with me a second, my map's upside down. I think turn 9. That's actually, sorry, no, it's not turn 9. That's 11 and 12. It's gone out in 11 off the track. And crashed out of this race, and it's brought out a full safety car. I missed the DJ CJ pits then. What will it be for? Is it a front wing? It's intermediate tyres. He's putting the gamble on for intermediates. And so's a lot of people here. We've got others gambling to inters. Yes, Eclipse. Several drivers all banking on intermediate tyres. Lex, BXTN, Huff and Dolbach, Binary, Santry, Micro, Mash. Daniel Rose as well. Yes, Daniel Rose as well. All. Cycle Words, Cottony Goblin. DJ, the first of all to put on the intermediate tyre. So from 10th to 15th it seems that all these drivers have the intermediates on, the rest have stayed on the wets. Will be very interesting going into the race restart when the safety car comes in. On board at the moment with Slaz. Let's join our race leader who's behind. CrowdStrike, Mercedes safety car. CrowdStrike will have to be putting a lot of money into some more advertising after the whole debacle where many Windows machines went down a couple months, well, not a couple months ago, a few weeks ago. All corporate Windows machines that ran on servers. Anything running with CrowdStrike basically was completely unoperational. See that the little look from Lex there? Do I come into the pits? Do I make that decision? He's not done that. BXTN relinquishing his lead. Relinquishing the place that he gained on CJ. Biting the bullet. So is everyone behind. I think Huff and Dolbach and Santry. Now everyone up to Daniel Rose, so the top 5 drivers still on the wet tyre. You know what I could do? Tell me what tyre everyone's on. Show you what tyre everyone's on. There you go. Five laps on the full wet tyre. Does look quite wet out there still. I will say that it doesn't look exactly like it's going to be that it's lightened up, but you can kind of see as the race runs on. We are only on lap 6, a drier line forming. Now have everyone from 6th, not everyone, but the majority from 6th to 15th, excluding Ian, have all these drivers seen something that we haven't? So obviously they get the telemetry of the weather. as that said that it's expected to light up. You can kind of see a dry line in the final sector as they all run on that drier line. Not a drier line, but a drier line. And I suppose if they stick to that racing line on the intermediate could be advantageous over the full wet, as the safety car is coming in this lap. So safety car comes in. It's up to the driver in the lead to become the safety car. So the safety car goes off, cuts off into the pit lane, and Lex is now essentially the one that dictates the pace of this race. He's going to be trying to gun it without the drivers behind realizing that he has, so he can be as slow as he wants, he can be as fast as he wants, he can go whenever he wants. The moment that he crosses the start-finish line and all drivers cross the start-finish line, when the racing begins. And it looks like Lex has just gone for it out of the final corner. Yes, he has. So it's going to be a long run down to turn one. We may see some changing of positions. You can see that Daniel Rose has had an excellent launch compared to Micromash out of the final corner. He's going to be all over the back of Micromash, but it doesn't look like he's going to gain the position. Anyone going to gain a position here? No. Doesn't look like it. So it's a very pedestrian restart. Everyone's being a bit safe about it, which is completely understandable. But we are now reset, so all the drivers have come back together. You can see that before we had second gaps, 2-second gaps between some of them. You know, a lot of them stuck together. But now we are reset back to how it were at the race start. Daniel Rose is absolutely all over the back of Micromash. CJ losing time to Daniel Rose. He's 5/10 behind. What's worrying for the drivers on the wets, as Daniel Rose attempts an incredible move up the inside. They kind of come together. Daniel Rose gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple track warnings. CJ gets in there as well. He's very close behind the two drivers, as Eclipse also getting into this fight. They're all very close together. 4 drivers in one very small space of track. As up the inside, Eclipse goes, CJ goes on Eclipse as Eclipse tries to mount a challenge, but unsuccessful at that. And that slowed down CJ, who was trying to make a move on Daniel Rose, who managed to get ahead of Micromash temporarily. He does make the move now, and we've got a full safety car again. Where has that come from? We've not got a full safety car. Ignore that graphic, ignore me. I thought it was a full safety car, it's just the graphic is poor. Anyway, so ignore the safety car. We're not got a safety car. We are still racing at the moment, and Micromash struggling on these wets now compared to the intermediates. Would have been an incredible move between these two, as they kind of come together a little bit. That round the outside, no, he thinks better of it. CJ still continuing on is the wet tyre. Now the unoperative tyre to be on. Inoperative. Anyway, ignore my poor grammar. Incredibly close racing at the moment, and it seems that Micromash is the cork in the bottle for all the drivers on the intermediates behind. The trouble with Imola is that it's incredibly difficult to overtake once you get into the second sector. Only really in the final stages of the third sector, which is basically the start finish straight in the first, is where you see overtaking done. Obviously can be done elsewhere. DJ now. Going to be a struggle. Yes, it is. As 4 drivers coming very close together. It almost looked like George Russell and Valtteri Bottas there between Websy and Micromash. Has everyone survived? Yes, just about. I saw one car going a bit squirrely there. What is that? That's an end plate. It's just flown off somebody's car. It was Eclipse. He's just lost the end plate of his front wing. So unfortunately for him, getting so close between these 6 drivers almost. In the thick of it. Going now. Tries to make his way past. And we do have another safety car. Safety car is coming out this time. But we don't know what for. Somebody's had an off. Looks like Ian's had an off, I guess. The only thing I can deduce from him being 8 seconds behind the pack. And now the drivers again slowing down as the safety car comes out. They have to respect a delta time, so they cannot do the full lap. MCC retires from the session. So the drivers now respecting a time. The session is Lex pits. And this is going to be absolutely horrible for those that pitted the first time onto the intermediate that couldn't make. No, it's not. What am I talking about? I was about to say it's going to be absolutely horrible for those that pitted onto the intermediate, but I'm obviously completely wrong. It's going to be incredibly beneficial to those that pitted onto the intermediate the first time around. It would have been beneficial to those on the intermediate, on the wet tyre, if they had formed a big enough gap, which they did not. And now you can see that Lex has sacrificed his lead. He is now down in 7th after this safety car has come out. In the lead at the moment, I'm Mr. DJ CJ, who lost the place to BXTN. He lost second in the early stages of this race, or around lap 5, lap 4. But is now leading the race after a very good call onto the intermediate tyre, which was followed by many. He was the first to do it. Again, let's check the stream, make sure we're still running. We are. Let's just see how this unfolds. At the moment, we've got 5 full laps of those that pitted the first time around onto the intermediate tyre. Track is now drying up incredibly. So, is the deficit of 5 laps enough of a margin of a tyre life usage for Lex to have? Huff and Dolbach to have, Daniel Rose to have, Sandtree, all those on 0 laps. Do they now have a big advantage over those ahead? Or is 4 to 5 laps just not enough to make that much of a difference this early on into the stint? Are they going to be having to wait between, I don't know, 10 more laps onto this tyre when Lex's are 10 laps old and CJ's are 15 laps old? Is that when the tyre deficit is going to really matter? You see everyone putting a lap on this tyre, but some of these laps, the 5 lap deficit actually, some of these laps are safety car laps. And the safety car lap, obviously the drivers are running a lot slower in the session. They're not utilising the tyre very much really. They're not putting the tyre under heavy loads as they go through the corners. It is very pedestrian at the moment, this race, under the safety car. Therefore, the laps that these drivers, a couple of laps that CJ, Websy, Owen, those on 6 and 5 laps have on this tyre will not be at full racing speed. So essentially these tyres are only 4 laps old. 4 laps old, 3 laps old, 3 racing laps of tyre life taken out of them. For the moment, I'd say those that pitted first, sitting quite pretty at the moment. We'll see though. Is fresh rubber king around Imola? I believe the safety car will come in this lap. We should have the message shortly. Oh, look at that. So then, safety car coming in, and as I said before, CJ now. CJ's turn to dictate the pace. What worked out for Lex, just running out of the final corner, putting his foot down as if he was doing a normal racing lap. And nobody seemed to make an impression. CJ has gone on the penultimate corner. He's absolutely bombed it, and it seems to have paid off massively for him. He's got 8/10 over Websy. Owen has picked up on Websy's speed and stayed with him. Cottony Goblin snoozing on the restart. He's now a second. So is Slaz as well. Second behind the driver ahead. A few tenths between some of them, but none are making much of an impression as Eclipse has a cheeky look up the inside of turn 1, but nothing doing there. He's now 2 tenths behind. He's at the back of the field, but incredibly for him, he had that safety car. His race could have been potentially ruined completely. He is now maybe back in this fight as he runs round the outside of Binary as Cotton and Goblin has left the session. I think that's a disconnect rather than a rage quit though. Hopefully Cotton and Goblin can get back in. Actually, viewers, I do apologise for diverting away from the race, but we'll do our due diligence and try and get Cotton and Goblin back into the session as Owen picks up a 3-second time penalty. Goblin, view gamer car. Let's see if we can get him back in. There we go. Apologies for that. We'll get back on board with the closest battle. Websy and I, Mr. DJ CJ. 4 position as Huff and Dobak actually moves past Cotton and Goblin's AI. But at the moment, these three, Owen, Websy, CJ, incredibly close together at the moment. Websy sets the fastest lap of the race. It's a 1:24.666. The Devil's number, and is he gonna be a Devil for CJ up the inside of turn 1? Yes, he is. Later on the brakes as well. Into the corner, goes pretty deep, but manages to hold the position. But does that mean that CJ gets a better exit? Possibly did, but Websy covers it off very well. Great defensive driving from Websy there. And is this Websy's race now to run away with as his challengers? Lex has moved up into 5th from 7th. But potential challengers many laps behind, many places behind. His CJ cannot keep up the pace with Websy. He's currently 6 tenths off Websy. And Owen is also all over the back of him. Cotton the Goblin picks up a 3-second time penalty. Has he managed to get back into the session then? Yes, he has. Sorry for moving away from the race for a second. It's just that we do want all drivers to be potentially able to race, and it's a shame when somebody disconnects from the session. As Eclipse picks up a 3-second time penalty as well. I missed whoever got the first one, as 2 drivers got it together there. As Eclipse moving through the field. Passes Psycho Leds now. He's 8 tenths, sorry, off BXTN ahead. Daniel Rose sets the fastest lap, and then Santry. So, are these intermediate tyres coming into their own? CJ is stuck with Websy, so did lose the place. But it seems that it's not over yet. See there, Owen moving to the wetter side of the track, trying to keep temperatures down, potentially. Blitz has gained massively on BXTM. We'll try to keep an eye on the front, but at the same time, do not want to be missing as Cotton the Goblin moves up past Cycle Leds. After unfortunately moving down the field from going into AI. 2 tenths between Lex and Slaz. As Lex sets the fastest second sector of anybody so far. This looks fast, doesn't it? Moves up onto the inside, which becomes the outside of the penultimate corner. And Lex has that move done. Very clinical. The man who started this race on pole, now back up into 4th after an unfortunately timed safety car, and he's now done a 1:23.9, just 2.4 seconds off the next man ahead, who is not far, just over 3 seconds from the lead now. So coming back into his own. Clips stagnating in 11th behind BXTN, struggling to make moves on Marcomash. Santry not gaining on Daniel Rose. Owen all over the back of CJ at the moment. Let's stay on board with Owen, just 4 tenths. I missed DJ CJ, who did stay with Websy for the last 2 laps, but has unfortunately dropped outside a second now. Very wide though from Owen, and that's lost him a big chunk of time. 5 tenths. That's potentially put him outside that second mark, but it looks like he's managed to stay within it, gain a couple tenths back. Huff and Doe back 3 tenths behind. Slaz and Volvo. And these drivers have been put to the absolute limit here. They're not, you know, the full wets from the start, the late change onto the early change onto the intermediates after the safety car came out. Some got that strategy right, others got that strategy wrong. Then the second safety car played into the others' hands that weren't able to, you know, that were on the wrong tyre, that would have eventually had to come into the pits anyway. And Dolbach and Slaz battling it out. Daniel Rose as well. Clips has dropped to a second behind BXTN. BXTN looks like he's gaining on Micro Mash. Santry as well, gaining on Slaz. Owen before was challenging CJ for second place. A deep turn. He overshot a corner. Owen did. He is now no longer within a second of CJ and under pressure from the man who started on pole just behind him. It looks like it's only a matter of time before we see Lex move up into third place. All over the back of Owen at the moment, who's going to have to put on an incredibly defensive drive here. He's just 3/10 ahead, and I think it's not going to be enough. Slipstream, the overtake, yes, it's too powerful to defend against, and I think, yeah, Lex comes out already ahead much before they get to the first corner. It's great to see turnout for today. 16 drivers. Unfortunately, we lost 2 of them. We lost active JMC early on in the race, just after 3 laps of running, and then we got a safety car and another safety car just a few laps after that. Ian MCC didn't DNF from the race. He well, he did, but that was through his own choice. He made a mistake somewhere down the line and then retired the car. I'm going to go on board with Daniel Rose, who has been hounding Kuffendorback for some time now, but has picked up another penalty. As we get closer to the end of the race, we will go over everybody's penalties. It just seems pretty pointless as everyone's gaining penalties, because this track is just, it's not easy. We're on strict corner cutting. You know, sometimes drivers run wide rather than corner cut themselves, which, you know, counts as exceeding track limits, which is completely understandable. And it just means around this track, where it's mainly chicanes and barely any walls to cover off the drivers from making these kind of mistakes. As Daniel Rose pits, that wing damage then that needs to be replaced. It's an early pit stop. We're going to stick on board with Daniel Rose, who has his pit crew waiting for him. Daniel Rose is banking on the hard tyre. It's a very interesting gamble as Eclipse comes in and puts in mediums. I don't think that this is dry tyre weather. Surely this is not dry tyre weather. The track looks soaking still. I could be wrong. But 2 drivers have made the decision at the same time to come into the pits and box for slicks. Now, with what these drivers do, Daniel Rose is gaining on Psycho. Well, you can see from Eclipse is struggling there. 3-second time penalty. We need to see what the race leader will do about this. 1.5 seconds. So Daniel Rose has gained a chunk of time. Whereas he stays out. How many stay out? Everyone should stay out, right? That is a gamble. Yeah, Eclipse is losing time to Daniel Rose, who's able to, on the hard tyre, potentially do something. But I think they're going to lose too much time trying to wait for the track to dry up here. Looks like they've rolled the dice, but it was evident that it was never going to work, really. Unless there's a drier line from the driver's view, which it doesn't look like. See CJ locking up slightly. Moving to the wetter side of the track to keep the tyres cool. He's a second behind Lex at the moment, who has moved up into second place. And more importantly, is also gaining rapidly on first place. This race is not over yet for Lex. From first to seventh. And potentially back to first again. Websy 2 seconds up the road though. And Lex isn't making that much of an impression at the moment going through this section of track. With Santry and Huff and Dolbach as well, just 3/10 behind Owen, who moves to the inside of the track, cuts across. That was incredibly dangerous, to be fair. Owen cuts across the front of Huff and Dolbach. Maybe it was a bit further away than it looked from that camera angle. But Owen straight into the pits and onto the hard tyre. I'm fearful that these drivers are pitting based off of the time that they're gaining on drivers in 13th and 11th. They're pitting on, they're gaining on the slower drivers on the intermediate tyre. I'm not sure if they, from what I can see at the moment, I'm not sure if they will gain on the drivers further up the field by doing this. But either way, do they have nothing to lose maybe? Owen seems to pit from quite a high position though. Yellow flag. Who's that to? Cottony Goblin on the intermediate tyre. Struggling. Psycho Leads boxes onto the medium. Websy still in the lead of this race. Lex trying to get the camera angle to switch back. Lex 1.6 seconds behind. We need to see. Still nobody pitting. Nobody running closer to the front pitting yet. As you can see, if we look at Owen's time, the delta between Owen and Binary, 23 seconds. Now, if this tyre was the right choice, that would come tumbling down in tenths. But instead, Owen is losing tenths to Binary. For those on the dry tyre, interestingly, I don't believe they made the right choice here. I don't think, I could be wrong, you know, we may see as Cottony Goblin pits potentially off the intermediate, but he's also got a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, so did not get slowed down enough before crossing that pit lane line. On board now with Slazenger. Who at the moment 3/10 behind Santry. Older tyres, and looks like he's being gained on. He's looking in his mirrors as well against Micromash, very close behind. Cottony Goblin on the dry tyre. Very interesting to see, and nobody yet to pit who is further up the field. I guess Owen counts as one. Blaz very close, but Micromash putting him under pressure as we go down to the first corner. Micromash moves up past. No, he does not. Very close, but no cigar. And Slazenger is actually moving up past Santry. It's going to be 3 wide into turn 3. Turn 4, sorry. Incredibly close racing between these four cars, sharing a very small portion of track together, and they're doing very well to keep it very clean, especially in the conditions that we're witnessing here. 5 cars very close together as these 4 battle, as all of them battle each other. They're slowing each other down, and that's creating some great opportunities for those that are a few places behind. As BXTN moves around the outside up the hill, it's going to be an incredible move. It was an incredible move from BXTN. Is he going to be able to hold it off? Yes, he is. Into the chicane they go. And it looks like, yes, it does. BXTN moves up into 6th place, past Slazenger, Micromash, down in 8th. And Binary joining the party as well. BXTN just 2/10 behind Santry. So Santry, who's under pressure from Slaz, is now under pressure from BXTN. Slaz has fallen back a little bit, and BXTN is going to use his overtake, use that slipstream of Santry down the start-finish straight, and he's going to get into turn 1 further ahead, already a place ahead. Not going to have to make the move into the corner. It's already done before the corner. And Santry now down into 6th place behind BXTN. Lex just 1.3 seconds off our race leader now. That time is coming down as we've lost Santry. Santry has spun around or had contact with somebody. Is potentially caught in the gravel. Is that a puncture? It's a puncture on the rear right of Santry. Caution in sectors 1 and 2. Incredibly unfortunate. Puncture definitely means that there were contacts there. Done 13 laps on this intermediate tyre, and we probably, you know, it's not Santry loses the back end of it. It's going to be incredibly difficult to drive that car with a puncture in any condition. It doesn't have to be wet as well, but it is wet out on the track, and Santry's going to have to nurse that car back to the pits, try to maintain a decent speed. It's going to be very difficult as he loses the control of the car. He's taken out. Who is he taking out with him? That was Daniel Rose, wasn't it? Yes, it was. It was Daniel Rose, who was just an innocent bystander. And he's lost his front wing. That is unfortunate. It's gone from bad to worse. Santry cannot keep control of the car. He's losing the back end over and over and over again. It is a full course safety car here, which is going to be great for Daniel Rose because Daniel Rose needs that. Santry needs it too, but he's unfortunately taking out another driver while trying to get that car back to the pits. And he is so far from the pit lane as well. It's going to be an astronomical amount as a safety car has caused those. CJ back into 4th. CJ is still in 4th, sorry, or ignore me. Basically, CJ on the medium tyre. In all the commotion, I've missed where everyone is in terms of strategy. So I do apologise. However, CJ now on the medium tyre. 3 cars have opted to stay out as they are caught up with the safety car. Does that mean that CJ will retake the lead of this race? If the drivers in 1st, 2nd and 3rd, Websy, Lex and Binary, all opt to move to the dry tyre now. I'm assuming that it is dry enough for the slicks. The majority of the field are on the slicks after noticing the pace increase. If I was the likes of Eclipse and anyone really who'd done a number of laps on this tyre, I'd cut my losses and move on to a different tyre, like just try again. I would not stick on the medium tyre that had been worn more than everyone else's, because you're just asking for it. You may as well just use the pit stop. However, I do understand that it's incredibly difficult to overtake here. So, yeah, it's kind of a tough one to decide. Whereas CJ, yes, CJ moves up into 1st place. Websy moving on to the medium tyre. Everyone moving on to the medium tyre. Lex down into 6th. Binary 5th. CJ up in the lead. Huff, BXTN 2nd and 3rd. Eclipse now up into 4th. Yeah, probably the best bet for him is to stay on them 7-lap old medium tyres and just try to hold on for the remaining 7 laps. We're not very far from the end here. This late safety car has definitely thrown banner in the works. 3 safety cars and it is dry. The track is completely dry now. The rain has stopped. The clouds are clearing. And it is going to be an absolute race to the finish. We have seen the pace of everybody in the wet. We have seen the pace of everybody in the dry. In qualifying, we've seen their pace. They stacked up in a different order to what they are in now. How on earth are they going to stack up when it gets to the end of this race? It is going to be an incredible final 6 to 5 laps, depending on when the safety car comes in. They're all getting bunched up at the moment. We've got Cottony Goblin in the pits still, as you can see on your track map down in the bottom right. Cottony Goblin is still in the pits. He needs to catch this pack, this slow-moving pack, before we go green again. The orange car on track, Daniel Rose. I would say McLaren, but I'm not sure if he's in the McLaren or not. I need to determine who's in what car before next race, because I didn't realise that we were using the F1 24 cars rather than the team cars. I'm sure there's a reason for that though. However, full disclosure, everyone is in a team. It's not every man for himself. Everyone's in a team. I can go over it the next time you join us. I do apologise. In fact, while we've got the safety car out, I think we can go over who's in what team. Standings condensed. Banner and CJ both in Red Bull. Lex is driving for Alpine. BXTN and Websy both in AlphaTauri, their teammates. Slazenger and Joe Pilkey, who's not here, is in the Williams. Huff and Dolbach and Captain Tifosi not here, are in Aston Martin. Daniel Loero not here, and Owen, who is here, are in Mercedes. Micro Mash, Psycho, Alfa Romeo. I don't think Eclipse is on this standings at the moment. But yeah, we have teams basically and team standings. The safety car will come in this lap, I do believe. Quickly flash up the current standings on the screen. This isn't including what the standings will be after this race. Our current championship leader after round 6 is Lex. Then Binary, then CJ, who's about to take a chunk out of both of those drivers' points if he maintains this points advantage over them in this race. Red Bull currently leading the championship. That will continue after this race. BXTN and Websy in AlphaTauri may not have an answer, as CJ has gone. He's put his foot down again out of the penultimate corner. Huff and Dolbach already 1.8 seconds behind. We have gone green here. The safety car has gone in, and here we go again. And you can see 4 cars together. 3 cars, sorry, I can't count. Going up to turn 1, it's going to be Huff and Dolbach on the inside. Yes, it is. It moves up on the inside, but that means that BXTN has the outside line, and BXTN taking second place. Ghosted there, you can see. That was... Who is ghosted there? Is that CJ that's ghosted? Yes, it is CJ that's ghosted. No, it's not. It's driver that's disconnected from the session. Ignore me. We'll continue on. Websy just 2 tenths behind Eclipse, who is struggling on them 9-lap old tyres. He just needs to hold on for 6 more laps. We're on lap 27 of 32 here, and it is going to be an absolute chaotic run to that finish line for all these drivers, just margins apart from 1st to 9th. And Websy all over the back of Eclipse, who's done an incredible job to recover his race. Let's be honest, he had a torrid time. As you can see, blue flags waved at the moment for Psycho. Eclipse has had a torrid time of it at the moment, and we probably will get DRS here, as CJ already 3.2 seconds ahead of BXN. He's absolutely flying at the moment. He's done a 1:19.872. He's obviously the first driver to cross the line since we restarted. So Daniel Rose picks up a 19.6, but at the moment CJ absolutely running away with this race. Binary just 4 tenths behind Websy. He could put Websy under pressure, which in turn would spur Eclipse the pressure from behind, as he looks ahead for maybe a potential podium spot from Huff and Dolbach. At the moment, you can see Eclipse PR all over the back of Huff and Dolbach, who seems to get a better exit though, coming up to turn 9. As we come up to turn 9, Eclipse a little look on the inside. Has he got it done? Eclipse crashes out of the race. Eclipse has lost control of his car. Went wide out of turn 9. And unfortunately crashed on the inside of 10. It's another safety car. It's another safety car. Eclipse losing the back end. It's all over. It did an incredible recovery. Drive-through penalty for Cottony Goblin, who was speeding under the safety car. Tried to slow it down, but it wasn't enough. And Eclipse has unfortunately crashed out of this race. We will try to get him into the party to speak about his woes. So let's have a look. Let me just make sure that if I do get him into the party, yeah, party chat audio is. And the game audio. So we got Slazenger coming into the pits, CJ sticking it out, BX10 also sticking it out here. You would assume that all drivers that haven't made a mistake or haven't got a bad set of tyres, they're all going to stay out. We've only got a few laps remaining. The safety car probably won't stay out as long as it normally does. To be fair, it's usually 3 laps. I wanted to invite you to a party. I don't want to speak to all the other drivers, I just want to speak to you. Invite failed, okay. Nothing I can do about that. We can interview him after the race. It's a shame really, I wanted to get that interview in, but oh well. We'll try one more time. Let me just check who's... Oh, he's in that party, okay. Hello, Eclipse. Do you want to go over what happened there? What's that?
I don't know. I didn't locked out my camera. Someone finally went for an overtake.
Yeah, I saw that you went wide there. Is that what happened then? Somebody
Well, I was trying to dodge him. Everyone's I don't know. I'm probably doing the same thing. Everyone's a bastard on this track. They're putting you over.
Can we watch our language?
I'm giving you a room. Oh, sorry. Excuse me.
Alright.
I apologise.
It's okay. You know.
But yeah.
PG-13 and all that. You're only allowed to say one swear word.
I was like, for staff in there, it's just high in emotions.
Yeah.
Emotions are involved. Put a microphone on a soccer player to...
You were absolutely all over. But
yeah, they were driving topsy-turvy.
Yeah.
That's the word. And
Topsy-turvy.
So I can't complain.
Everyone.
Did I take off stats?
I'm not sure. He is down in 10th at the moment, so I assume so.
He's fun after after we were fighting.
I was too focused on you just sat in the wall with your head down, unfortunately. Yeah. Right, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back to commentating. I'll speak to you after the race, yeah?
No bother. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Yeah, so we'll get the audio back on. Audio setting. Where I'm such an old man when it comes to this. Like, you wouldn't think I grew up with technology. Anyway, as we no. Right. Get the audio turned back down. So then, safety car will potentially come in this lap if I'm right. I usually am with these. We've had it twice in a row, and I was right. So, safety car will come in this lap. And CJ has it all to do again. The last time he just threw it up the inside of turn 18 and never looked back. Got a 3-second lead over BXTN. Can he recreate that magic? He's got it all to do again. The pressure, I would say, is on. He handled it very well the last time. But will he be able to handle it just as well this time? You can see BXTN not going to miss. He's not going to fall for that trick again. You can see he's sticking right behind the man in first place, who has gone out of the final corner, out of the second to last corner, but this time it hasn't worked. BX10 just 3/10 behind. Huffendorbeck just 3/10 behind him. Websy has lost a little bit of time. Slower reactions there. Binary all over the back of Websy. We're going to stick on board though with Imus CJ as he comes up to the first corner. He survived. Binary also not making the move on Websy as well. We saw that Eclipse unfortunately out of the race. He was doing incredibly well after his woes, but now out of the race, and CJ now leading the pack away. Slaz gets a 3-second time penalty. We're on lap 31 of 32. It's all left to play for. There are just fine margins between all these drivers at the moment, and couldn't put anything between them. BXTN all over the back of CJ. He's got a sniff of it, but at the same time, you just saw that little bit of oversteer, that little bit of understeer, sorry, that he had to correct, and it's immediately put him 4 tenths, 5 tenths behind him, as he's absolutely trying to do everything he can, just 2 tenths now, everything he can to gain this final place, but he's on the hard tyre. He's got a pace disadvantage at this stage. Everyone else on the mediums or the softs. BXTN, the outlier on this hard tyre, as Mr. CJ sets the fastest lap of the race so far, crossing the line, and nobody else has replicated it apart from Lex, who's just done a 1:17. Huff and Dolbach, you saw they're having a little look, but too far back at the moment. No DRS was on that lap. DRS is now activated. Huff and Dolbach under massive pressure from Websy, who's getting maybe a look to see, as we just saw in the background there, Binary sliding out of turn 5. He almost lost it, and he's actually managed to somehow get ahead of Websy. The Tokyo Drift has put him up into 4th place. We're on the final lap of this race. Just margins between them. I cannot stress this enough. This can still end anyway, no matter what corner is coming up next. It is still all to play for. I'm trying my best to stick with it. Lex all over the back of Websy. Sorry. Lex. Oh, there's been a collision in the far back there. Daniel Rose off the track, losing places off the track, gaining an advantage probably. I'm Mr. DJ CJ. Coming out of the final corner, it looks like he's done it all. He crosses the line. He wins the Imola Grand Prix for RCR. Huff and Dolbach manages to get 2nd place. Websy crossed the line. Sorry, BX10 crossed the line in 2nd. But due to all the penalties, everything mixed up. We didn't have time to look at the penalties with everyone. Everything has been mixed up towards the end. It was an absolutely incredibly close battle between everyone. Mr. CJ manages to pick up the win from 2nd place, but it wasn't just 2nd place, was it? It was a lot more than that. Everyone went through their own tests in that race, and well, standing atop the podium, he's done it, and an incredible job indeed, coming out on top compared to all the other drivers who had their own tests. Some of them, gave it their all and came up short. Others managed to pick up a podium, managed to, massively improve compared to where they started. But it's CJ that comes out on top, and a very well done to him. We had a wet race from the start, and good strategy calls from many resulted in the standings, in the result that we have here. So then Mr. DJ CJ finishes the race in 1st, followed by BXTN, followed by Binary, Websy, Huff and Dolbach, Michael Mash, BXTN, Owen, Lex, Slazenger and Daniel Rose. They round out your top 10. Cottony, Psycho, Santry, Eclipse, Ian and Active GMC all finish outside the top 10. Lot of which have DNF'd from this race. Santry to Active GMC. I'm just trying to make sure that I get the standings there. Fastest lap goes to Lex, who does a 1:17.064 as he did that on the 2nd to last lap. Let's see if we can get CJ in for an interview. We'll interview the race winner. Hopefully,
do all the settings on my telly.
Oh, Jesus
I couldn't see anything.
We'll back out a second. We'll try to get the race winner, and then we'll see what he has to say about such an incredible drive. He may not join because I think he may think that I'm just being stubborn about being in the party. We'll wait for a few minutes, or for a couple of minutes. If he does join, happy days. If not, then oh well. But yeah, what an incredible race from all of them. Really saw the quality that this league has to offer. Yeah, he's invited me to another party. Check to see whether he's... It's not going to show the party. Yeah, I'll just round this up then. So after that, CJ scores a chunk of points over the rest of his challenges. I'm not able to calculate that at the moment, but by next week we'll have them standings out for you. We stream every Tuesday at 9:30 onwards. That's when the qualifying starts, and we run all the way through to the end of the race. Races run 50%, as you could see there. We did 32 laps of Imola. Normally it's 63. But yeah, if you're interested in joining, just fire me a message across on Twitch. You can send me a whisper on Twitch, and I will get right back to you on the potential of joining. We welcome everyone, basically. As long as you're within the pace of the field, we'll welcome everyone with open arms. Thank you very much again for watching. It has been an incredible stream. I really appreciate everyone who's watched, and anyone that will re-watch this will re-upload it to RCR's official channel on YouTube. Thank you again everyone for watching. Bye bye for now. See you again next week.